This is the bustling shopping area in downtown Tokyo called the Ginza. Just about anything you could want that money could buy, you can get right here. But I've come all this way to get something that money can't buy: justice. A grieving family from the United States who lost a loved one here in Tokyo reached out to me to help ease their pain. I've come all this way to help close that case, a case which began half a world away. Family trips to places like the Grand Canyon and the Statue of Liberty were more than just summer vacations for the Kang family. These were special trips to places they'd read about long before they ever lived in Beaufort, Georgia. Sung Won and Gaeon Kang emigrated from Seoul, Korea to the U.S. with their 2 children. Like a lot of other Korean immigrants, they gave their kids American names: Scott and Rebecca.
I came to United States 1993, July 29th.
Proud to become an American, Sung Won worked hard to raise his children in their new home. He started a beauty supply business and saw his dreams for his oldest child come true.
Hey, Abdul.
Generous, accountable.
Scott became a typical American teenager, as this lighthearted video for a high school project shows.
Yo, I'm Scott Kang, yo.
Yeah, he loved so much love to America, so he wanted to become a politician, and he wanted to join Army, so he got the scholarship from ROTC.
With an ROTC scholarship, Scott enrolled in New York University's business school and had plans to be a lawyer one day. But his scholarship only covered tuition, and there were a lot of other expenses at NYU.
I heard the news, some Korean wanted some teacher. So, I recommendation, why don't you go to the Korea and then you study the English and then you save some little bit money.
Scott followed his dad's advice and took a year off from college to build up his savings by teaching English in South Korea. This past August, Scott and 2 fellow teachers decided to take some time off. They headed to Tokyo to explore. August 27th, on their first night in Tokyo, Scott and his friends head out to the Shinjuku district, an area full of bars with a reputation for a rowdy nightlife. They visit a few bars, then Scott decides to take off for a while on his own. Several hours later, he's found at the bottom of a stairwell in this building, bleeding heavily and fighting for his life. Min-Suk Lee lives here in Tokyo, and she was the emergency contact for those guys when they came here to visit Japan. Min-Suk, you got the call from the U.S. Embassy, and you had to go to the hospital that night to see Scott. What did you see?
I tried this many times. I called him his name, and then I touched his moving body, and then he never moves, never gets the answer. He has many damage in his body. I took a video at the time, because at that time his parents doesn't there, so I worry about it. If I have my son too, so maybe my son will be Scott. I think about it. I'm very sad, I'm very shocked. So I think about his parents.
I think it's wonderful that you took all those pictures and that you cared about his parents, and you cared if he was your son, you would wish somebody would do that for you.
Yes. I think that times almost he will be dying soon.
You thought he was near death.
Mm-hmm.
You had to call his parents.
Yeah.
She told me, your son was found in a hospital, but now he's a coma. So you had to come to the Japan right away.
By the time Scott's parents arrived in Tokyo, he'd been in a coma for 5 days. Doctors had performed several surgeries. These photos taken by Min-Suk Lee shows Scott's desperate fight to survive.
Yeah, but this is very hard to see, my son, yeah.
Scott's parents prayed at his bedside for hours, talking to him, hoping for a sign that he could hear their voices. But the following day, Scott died. When his grieving parents went to the Japanese police, they couldn't believe what they were told. Investigators had concluded that Scott had had too much to drink that night and fell down 2 flights in a narrow stairwell. Sung-Wan says the police showed him surveillance tape from an elevator in the building where Scott was found. The authorities won't release the video, so we reenacted what's on the tape based on Sung-Wan's description. It shows Scott in the elevator alone when another man walks in. Cops say the 2 men were holding hands, but Scott's father says he saw something else. He says the video shows the hooded man trying to rob his son. When Scott didn't comply, Sung-Wan believes the man attacked him. But most agonizing for him to see were crime scene photos that showed a long blood streak, as if someone had dragged his son against the wall. Convinced that his son had been murdered and frustrated that the investigation seemed to be going nowhere, Sung-Wan reached out to the U.S. Embassy in Tokyo for help. And after many phone calls, complaints, and pleas, Japanese police have reopened the investigation into Scott's death. They recently identified the man with Scott in the surveillance tape as an employee of a bar in the building, but they haven't charged him with any crime, once again leaving a family aching for answers. Last month, the Kang's Church in Georgia held a memorial service to honor Scott on what would have been his 20th birthday.
God does good for those who love him, who have been called.
His suspicious death has stunned this community. They can see their friends' pain as they try to deal with their tragedy, knowing that the answers they desperately need are so far from home. Song, this is the first time that you've been here where your son was killed. What was that like?
This is terrible and very sad now.
Very sad. Now, I've walked in your shoes. Took 27 years to close my son's case, to find out what happened to him. You're not giving up. You've been here twice. You've met with the police 4 times. What did they tell you?
They always say that falling down is falling down. So, I'm some very disappointments about the Japanese policeman.
Very disappointed and frustrated. In the video, it looks like he's grabbing Scott.
Yeah, grabbing Scott like someone like this.
To hurt him.
Yeah, and so he actions like this.
So they still say, go home, it's an accident.
Yeah, so they might want that, but I don't want to give up. So,
You're never going to give up.
Never give up.
You don't believe that it was an accident.
Yes, and then I believe there's a Scott justice. So I never give up, and then I try to find some justice.
I know that. I know exactly what you're feeling. That's why we have to help this man. He wants justice. So if you have any information about what happened that night, if you have friends in Japan, you can go to our website, amw.com. You can go to that website from anywhere in the world. I promise you, you can remain anonymous. I promise you and guarantee you that we just need that tip. We need to find out what happened to this man's son and get him some justice.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Now, you can get the same AMW gear that cops all ask us for. AMW ball caps, AMW shirts, AMW mugs, and much more. Just go to our website, amw.com. Click on AMW Gear. Soon, you'll be making a difference with style.
Alright, you are listening to Missing Kids TV. This is episode number 62. We're talking about the Scott Kang Killer today. You just heard the scenario about Scott Kang. You can go to the AMW website and type in Scott Kang, that's K-A-N-G, to find out more about the Scott Kang case. My name is Steve. I am the host of Missing Kids TV. I've been doing this since 2007. So I know a little bit about advocacy and about missing children and fugitives and things like that. I'm glad you could join us today. If you're listening for the first time, please make sure you hit that follow button and you follow along. So you never know when these broadcasts are going to be. I just do them when I can. I got the free time to do so. If you follow us at facebook.com/missingkidstv, you'll be able to get guaranteed that you'll know when all our broadcasts are. Now, later on in the program today, we're going to be talking about the controversial Christopher Dorner case. It's been in the media a lot today. I'll let you guys decide what to think about this particular fugitive. I'm going to be playing a few clips about that. Glad you guys could join us today. I'm also on YouTube at youtube.com/missingkidstv. If you got Twitter, you can find me at MKTV Tweets. That's MKTV Tweets. We've been doing this every single week for 62 some odd weeks now, so I'd like to thank all of our faithful listeners that listen in each and every week. There's no script to this. Justice never has a script. It's just something that you do at the spur of the moment, and I'm trying to help raise awareness and help right some wrongs in the world out there. We're here on Spreaker. We've been doing this for a little while now, a few weeks now, maybe a month or two. Formerly, for the last year prior, we were doing it on Blog Talk Radio. You can find some archives over there. That's when we do our replays. If you see an episode of MKTV here on Spreaker and it has the word replay on it, that means that it's a quote-unquote rerun episode. However, last week, I did episode number 23, which we called Angel's Story, and there was a live part of that particular episode that was added to the replay. So just because you see something that says replay does not necessarily mean that it's not an all-new episode. So keep that in mind. Please tell your friends about MKTV. Please share this episode amongst your friends. If you're a fan of America's Most Wanted, this is the show for you while we're waiting for America's Most Wanted to return to the air. Rumor has it that contract negotiations are continuing between Lifetime and Fox as it relates to AMW returning to Friday nights. There is a show called John Walsh Investigates that will be debuting soon on the Lifetime network. I do not have the exact date, but it is rumored to be sometime in February, so we'll keep our fingers crossed to see when that's going to be. Now, I do take suggestions. I do take suggestions as to what clips or what cases I can profile. Coming up soon, we will be doing a episode on the Lisa Irwin case. So hopefully you guys will stay tuned for that. If you would like to see your case featured on MKTV, you can message me at facebook.com/missingkidstv. If you have a tip, you can leave a tip there as well. I have received many tips over the last couple weeks, and some of them have led to arrests, and some of them have led to missing children and adults being found. So don't think that your tip won't produce results, because I have a proven track record with this show, and I'm glad that you are here to be a part of it. Now, we're going to take a short commercial break, and when we return from the commercial, we will be talking about the Christopher Dorner case. For those of you that are listening to this on our stream on YouTube, you'll see a short 30-second break or so, and we will return with more on Missing Kids TV in just a second.
Yes, it's dark and I am scared.
It can happen in an instant. You get separated from your child. Your dad doesn't feel right, but he's not sure he should call 911. You just feel uneasy walking to your car. With 5-star urgent response, one touch, and you'll be immediately connected to 5-star agents or 911.
Calling 5-star.
This is 5-star. How can I help you?
I can't find my mom.
Using enhanced location tracking with GPS, these agents can determine your location and get you the help you need.
An ambulance is on its way.
Okay, thank you.
Can you stay with me till I get to my car?
I'll stay with you all the way.
Hello, Mrs. Williams. I've located Sean. He says he's by the steps.
5-star urgent response. It's help at the touch of a button.
Calling 5-star.
Now available at Walmart, Sears, or online at greatcall.com.
Well, the largest manhunt in the history of the Los Angeles Police Department continues, with teams combing the hillsides of a ski resort where the suspect is believed to be hiding. Thousands of police officers are searching for Christopher Dorner, who is accused of having allegedly murdered 2 civilians and 1 police officer. Now, in a rambling internet manifesto, Dorner had declared war on law enforcement officials as well as their families, accusing the LAPD of, quote, internal corruption, racism, and the concealment of excessive force. Now, for more analysis on this story, we're joined live by Michael Ruppert, investigative journalist and actually a former LAPD officer himself. Sir, thanks so much for being on the program. Now, as a former LAPD officer, what do you personally make of Dorner's accusations against the department? I mean, do you see any validity to these claims, or are they simply the ramblings of a disturbed individual?
Well, first of all, let me say that, having been a detective and an accomplished investigative journalist, I do not accept the manifesto as it has been presented to the public as necessarily being authentic, complete. There are serious changes in the writing style, and that leads me to suspect that it may have been tampered with. However, with regard to his specific allegations about his case, and I'm currently reviewing legal documents that are becoming available online, I have to tell you that with regard to his allegations about a rigged trial board hearing and very egregious, unprofessional cover-up of excessive force, but also management malfeasance, perjury, and a lot of other serious things, I believe him 100%. I do not think that the culture that existed in LAPD from way back from the time when I was there up through Rodney King, I do not think it has been eliminated. I do believe there is a good old boy network there, and I believe that just with regards to that Chris Dorner was a victim.
Now, sir, before we move on to more details about the case with Dorner, for our international viewers who may not be familiar with the issues involving police brutality, perhaps excessive force, the things you touched upon in the LAPD, can you expand on that and sort of explain briefly for our international viewers what the actual problems with the department are?
Well, the Los Angeles Police Department, of course, has had a history, both good and bad, mixed. But a lot of unfavorable incidents of the use of excessive force, of racist behavior, as was evidenced by the Rodney King beating and the Rodney King insurrection or riot of 1992. There have been, from the Rampart Division scandal years later, and many other incidents, the LAPD has been shown and has a consistent cultural problem with racism, cover-up, and cronyism within the department that has victimized, I think, and probably driven out a great many good officers. I left for similar reasons.
Well, that's quite interesting. Now, of course, when we go back to Dorner, I mean, this man is accused, allegedly, of murdering 3 individuals. He reportedly had a hit list of some 40 potential targets. I don't know if that's true or not. But at the same time, his case has surprisingly triggered an avalanche of support messages on the Internet, some even hailing him as an anti-system truth fighter. What would you explain is behind this the support that's emerged?
Well, I don't condone what's happened, and I want the violence and killing to end. But more important, I want him to be brought in alive, which is something I do not think that LAPD, law enforcement, or the U.S. government wants under any circumstances. He has stood up, and he is an accomplished, experienced covert warrior. He has worked with special operations personnel. I have many years of experience working with and dealing with U.S. Army Special Forces, Navy SEALs. This is a warrior trained many levels above anything most local police departments would be familiar with. He has skill sets. He's a threat. He hasn't been caught yet. And he is articulate. He was an officer in the U.S. Navy, honorably discharged. He served some serious, respectable combat duties. He had command. And this is not a flake. This is not some guy with a high school diploma who became a cop. And for that reason, he is both symbolically and in a very real physical sense a threat because he has stood up. And I don't think that anybody wants him to come in alive on the government side, and I think he should be brought in alive.
All right. Well, there's also been some information that news helicopters are perhaps being prohibited from following the manhunt, which has sparked speculation, at least, that the authorities could perhaps try to take him down without giving him a chance for a day in court. What do you make of that? Well,
like I said, I come from a CIA family, and I've spent a great deal of time with special operations warriors. His skill set and his tradecraft is far superior to anything law enforcement has. Tracking helicopters means nothing, or using helicopters to track the manhunt means nothing. He's several steps ahead of law enforcement, and everything else is just show at this point. They found his truck burned in Big Bear, and I firmly believe he's had months to prepare this operational plan. His legal appeals ran out in 2012, so he's had many months to prepare a plan, and he's 4 or 5 steps ahead of law enforcement at this point. He probably had a time delay device to burn his truck in Big Bear, and he was probably hundreds of miles away. I think that at this point, law enforcement has no idea where he is.
Well, it certainly sounds like something out of a movie. Michael C. Ruppert, investigative journalist and former Los Angeles Police Department officer, weighing in on this very bizarre story as it develops. Thank you so much, sir.
And we're back here on Missing Kids TV. Now, I played the previous clip about Christopher Dorner to allow my audience to make their own judgments as it relates to this case. Now, I, of course, being human, have my own opinions and beliefs, and on a professional level, I can't really go into, what that would be from a professional level. MKTV as an institution, I can't say that MKTV agrees or disagrees or whatever with this particular case or with the people that you just heard or some of their thoughts or whatever. However, on a personal level, I can make a comment or two, and I want to take a second or two. I have the monologue music going on in the background. I just want to say what I feel from my heart. So bear with me for just a moment here. When I grew up as a child, in the 70s in America, in 1976, for example, that was the bicentennial of this country that I live in America, and I was a young child, and I thought, the freedoms and the beliefs and things that people fought and died for, made this country great, and now I'm 41 years old, and slowly, if you look really, really carefully, you can see these freedoms are slowly being taken away, whether it's because of 9/11 or Osama bin Laden or, these freedoms that we knew as children are slowly being taken away. And one has to ask themselves why. I'm not much of a political person. I'm not, very Republican or Democrat or anything like that. But it kind of makes you wonder. I mean, Is Christopher Dorner guilty of the things that he's accused of? I can't say for certain. I put the clip out here because as of right now, he is an America's Most Wanted fugitive. I really hate to think that our own country would be hunting down its own citizens if they were innocent. It wouldn't surprise me if they did, but I'd hate to think that this is now going to be the norm. And if that is the case, you should think and wonder yourself, what exactly is happening to this country? I'm not one to be a conspiracy theorist. Maybe a little bit I am, but not really. But it just makes you wonder, doesn't it? What exactly has happened to our country when you can't trust the police, you can't trust the government, you can't trust the doctors and the people that are supposed to protect you? I don't really understand, and maybe someone out there has the answers that I don't. That's about it for this particular episode, and next time around we're going to be talking about Lisa Irwin. It's a missing child, missing infant who's been gone for quite some time now, and by request I'm going to be talking about that. So that'll be next time here on Missing Kids TV. Make sure you hit that follow button and follow along, and follow me at facebook.com/missingkidstv. Until next time, my name is Steve. Thank you for listening.